Tonight's episode is going to be on the art of caring what people think. This is heavily inspired by the subtle art of not giving AF. That is my PG 13 reading of the title of
Whoa,
this
calm
book.
down over there, fella.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize that we brought it up to 13 already. We should have stayed at PG. But Mark Manson is the author for this. Big fan of this book. For those that want to be more interested in self help books, please go check this one out and stay tuned because a lot of what I'm going over here is a compilation of my own thoughts as well as a lot of what he breaks down in this book. So if you want to get more into it, check this out. Fellas, how's everybody doing tonight?
It's a wonderful night. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yeah, what he said.
Depending on the neighborhood.
I couldn't top Mr. Rogers.
Oh man. I feel like Mr. Rogers, I'm so glad you had that shout out. I'm gonna have to look up some Mr. Rogers things on caring what people think. He's probably got some gems.
I'm sure he does actually. He actually has some gems. Like if you go back in, he's got some
A man
stuff.
that wears a sweater like that every day does not care.
No, he does not. No.
He's comfortable.
For sure. So, what actually you just reminded me of? One of our very first episodes on The Good Life was discussing facial hair and appearance when it comes to caring what people think and the professionalism you might bring to the table. So, yeah, no, jawline's still looking good, could be, I promise. Oh, yeah. Smooth. We each have varying degrees of facial hair here on the show.
Yeah.
I like that whole 12-month, basically 180 that we've taken, because at the end of the day, caring what people think is important. There's expressions out there like YOLO that make you want to go off there and do whatever you want. There's, no F's given. I'm trying my best to keep this PG tonight. All of these things have a place in time in how you want to live your life. There are moments when you want to be yourself and be authentic and be brave and go out there and screw what other people think. However, you want to live your whole life not caring what people think, that's going to be a very challenging process. Because if you want to make money, if you want to have a family, if you want to go to the grocery store and not get kicked out, you name it, you're going to have to play some type of game and balance just how much you prioritize what other people think about you and where that sits with your own opinion of yourself. And there's a whole spectrum there, from stranger on the street to a hater on Instagram. We get those from time to time because we say real stuff. And to acquaintances, to your outer circle, your inner circle, your family, yourself, all of these things are key. So fellas, when I talk about the art of caring what people think, what comes to mind? Are there any situations? Are there any things that you felt like there was a clash between what you thought of yourself and what other people thought you should be doing? I'll open it up. What do you guys think?
I think it's, when you say, obviously we're playing off of the title, again, continuing an example by our brilliant leader today, Stu, of keeping it PG so the kids can join in. But what I think about is it really, is caring the right word? That's what hits me. Is caring the right word, or is it, and the impact that it has, or something along a different line? Because I struggle, like I was saying in the pregame, and the double bind of, if you don't care at all, I don't know if I want to be around you, at all. If you, if you don't care at all, because, oh man, you got to care about something, right? So I struggle with that, and then I go to, can't care about everything, so then it leads me to, is am I really talking about caring, or am I talking about the impact that people's opinion has on my self-esteem, on who I see myself as, on a whole bunch of different things, So I think for me, it's, I hear what is the impact, right? Am I here? Based on what somebody says or does or whatnot, am I now in my closet, beat myself up and hiding, that, or do I just observe, okay, got it, that's your opinion, take what I can take from it and leave what I leave from it, and so it doesn't have an impact on what it is that on me, right? But sometimes it's good to have an impact. Maybe it's a positive impact. I don't know, right? So those are the things that come to mind. It's a lot of things, man, but I'll let you handle that today.
No, that's good, man. That's good. And I'll just add to it. I think using that word impact could be as important because I said the same thing. Like, it's a matter of I should care a little bit about what people think, right? Like, if I didn't care at all, might be something up, right? Like, I might be detached from life or something like that. But in general, I really believe that it's about the impact that's being made. And if we can kind of separate, because I've had to do this in my own life, and it'll be interesting to kind of go deeper into this conversation too. But I've had to kind of balance like how much I actually care, meaning like how much their words are impacting me, versus also me wanting to portray myself in a good light in business or in a positive light for my reputation. But that's basically how the first thoughts that are coming to my mind. So it'd be good to hear about your thoughts too and kind of how we're going down this path.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys have me on comms, by the way? For some reason, I think I might have just lost my headphones, but
No,
that's
we're
going to
good.
be a challenge. Okay. All right. So, long story short, what I loved about what both of you guys said is it had this element of discernment. Like, there's no one right answer for how much you care about what other people think about you. Like what I really like to do with my clients is separate the idea of extreme thinking. I either care what people think about me or I don't care what people think about me. This is a spectrum. Anybody that knows me, that's listened to me gab up here from time to time, like, that I like to break things down and get out of black and white thinking, on and off type stuff. Like, where do you fall on the spectrum of how important are other people's opinions of you, and how does that impact your actions? Great word choice could be. Now, when you hear about someone else's opinion, or you notice something through body language, facial expression, whatever, maybe you hear through the grapevine that someone was saying something about you. You guys brought up great points. Like, how does this affect how you view yourself? And what did I miss?
Kabir is over here making faces. That's all. He just
Fair enough. The
made a
usual.
face. Yeah.
The usual. Depending on the face somebody's throwing out there. Like, whatever the case may be, you have to sit there and ask yourself, does this person's opinion matter to me? That's like the fundamental question. If we're going all the way out and it's a stranger that you've never met, I believe Chris addressed this in the pregame. If this person knows nothing about you, they've seen you one time in public and they've made some type of snap judgment, overall decision on what your character is like, is that important to you? How important is your friend that you've known and you've talked to maybe once a year for a while? How important is your spouse, your mom? Like, these are the types of things to begin to ask yourself. Like, literally visualize like your circle of influence. The farther out they get, in my opinion, the less of a impact that person's opinion should have on how you view yourself and how it emotionally stirs you. So one thing to kind of help with this is this idea of, the spectrum 1 through 10. Like, how am I going to value this? You can go through a quick logic exercise on, okay, does this person really know me? Do I really care? What is their amount of impact on my life? Are they a supervisor at work? Because then you got to kind of ask yourself, man, it's actually kind of important to some degree. They have a lot of control over my destiny, how much I get paid, the career trajectory I have, whether it's a spouse, someone that you've chosen to spend your life with. So yeah, for me, going through that logic exercise and analyzing things, not black and white, do I care? Do I not care? Like, asking yourself, okay, is this significant based on who they are and how much they know about me? So, fellas, I guess the question I have for you guys is like, how do you go about making these decisions? when you hear about some type of opinion that perhaps disagrees with you?
It's a good place to start. I actually, this is a place of growth for me, because I've fluctuated back and forth of like the guy that's like, I'm not taking in anybody's opinion. Like you don't know what I'm doing or going through, right? So like, it is what it is. And then I've also been on the other side of like, you know, having that listening ear of like, are they saying like, is this really me? Like, are they seeing like this because this is really prevalent? Like, and really going down that path of like figuring out if I should value their opinion or not. But now I'm at a place where it's just discernment. I listen, the judgment that I have, or I really take into account who's speaking and what they're saying. And I'll take it all in. I'll take it. I'll be like, okay, I hear that. I've learned this by being married. Right? By being married, right? Like you have to pick up some of these skills when you're in a long-term committed relationship. But just taking it in and saying like hey, I know that you live with me, so like you might see something, right? To be honest, like you might see some of my blind spots. We all have blind spots. And so because I'm with you more than anyone else, like you probably have some merit in what you're saying. So now I just take it in and I start to really decipher like over time. It might take me a few days now. Like I don't take anything that anyone says right away as like truth or like, yeah, I got to change that. I'll take it in and I'll kind of reevaluate it. Like, okay, like does it have merit? Is this meant to help me or hurt me? And I really kind of go through this mental process. And then I start picking out the areas that I know it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I know I'm not good in that area, or I could improve in that area. Okay. And then I just kind of pick which parts of what they were saying I'm actually going to allow to shift my behavior or shift my thought process about something. But I really use discernment nowadays. I'll listen to almost everyone. And I say almost because there's some people I just don't, right? We all have people who are just like, you're not in a position to tell me anything. Anyway, or maybe that's just me. but I try my best to listen to everybody and take it in. But it is about discernment these days.
To unmute myself here so my voice can be heard. Listen, so I think Chris, that's a lot of what you said. I definitely agree quite a bit with. For me on my end, I'll add this. I think I was going through this thought exercise as you were talking, Stu, and don't worry, guys, I've answered a few of my own questions. Okay, it's I got it. I appreciate it. Thank you for trying. I got it. Yes, I care. Yeah, I care. And it's not a bad thing to care at all. Yes, I care. Okay, let's move on. What's question number 2? See, I answered that question. You see that? I do care. I care about all of you guys. Okay, I care about all of you guys. All right, impact. That's the next question. What is the impact? What is the impact this is going to have on my self-esteem, on who I think I am, on my like internal ego type of conversation? And then what impact is it going to have on my actions? Right. So it's kind of like a check roll of questions a little bit, right? So I go through and Chris, you say, hey, it might be cousin Kwame, okay? Or cousin Yao. Let's choose a different cousin. Cousin Yao. Yeah, no, I don't have a cousin Lucas. I have a Kwame, your boy, and a Yao. All right. So, cousin, your boy, you don't have a job. You don't have a wife. You have no kids. You have no responsibilities. Do I care what you think? Yes, I do care. See, yes, I still care. Right? Is it going to have an impact on how I feel about myself? No, because you don't have. Come on, brother. No, it's not. Okay. Is it going to have an impact on how I act towards you? It used to in the past. I might start acting salty or not, but now, no, it wouldn't. I just come in, dap cousin your boy right up, make sure he goes back with his car that could probably use a lot of help in his house that could use a lot of help. And I say, I love you, brother, still, even though you said what you said, it's all good. And it doesn't impact me in that way. So when I go through that way, I'm like, man, it gives me peace, but it also leaves space for growth. Right, it leaves space that, hey, sometimes let's take cousin Kofi. Kofi comes home and he says, hey, brother, listen, I know you've been doing a great job. Everything is going well. But I think on that radio show that you do with the guys, like, you could talk a little less, okay? You could talk a little less. It'll make the show better. It'll make the show better. So I listen. I'm like, all right, fine. Cousin Kofi, you've got something to say. Is it going to impact, how I feel by myself? No. Is it going to impact? Well, maybe a little bit because, I appreciate my cousin Kofi, But is it going to impact my actions that I take? Maybe I go ahead and I tweak a couple things and, so now I'm going to end my sentence here so that you guys can speak. See that?
Love it. We didn't even pay cousin Kofi to say that either. So what I like here is we're kind of breaking down like who is the source and what are some simple ways to identify whether or not the source is going to have a particular impact on you, whether or not that person has the same lifestyle choices as you, whether or not that person has the credentials for that type of opinion that can go hand in hand with the lifestyle. If you're a single guy without a lot of those responsibilities, casting judgment on someone that has chosen a lot of responsibilities certainly has lesser of a weight, at least at first glance. But maybe there's something that they see from a different angle. So you kind of gotta use your judgment. And then finally, their knowledge of you, which goes back to the whole circle of influence and how close they are to you and how much they're exposed to you. So one of the things that I think this is super important for is anyone that has ever once thought of themselves as a people pleaser, this whole topic is literally designed for you. Like, we're not really going after the people that don't care at all right now. Although I think there are individuals out there that carry themselves in corporate or family areas of life that think that their way is right, their way is perfect. They could be any type of asshole, whatever. I guess I just broke our PG-13 thing. But at the end of the day, there is an importance because your way of being and how you treat other people affects other people's lives. And if you're going to take a step back and recognize and be empathetic to the fact that all lives are created equal, then by default, you actually have to spend, if you're going to accept that to be a truth, you're going to have to spend some time asking yourself, like, hey, if I don't care what anybody thinks, like, what is my impact that I'm having on those around me? Am I taking the time to make sure I'm not at least negatively impacting those around me? Or if you're potentially one of the three guys on this screen or many others around the world that are trying to positively help other people, that's something to pay attention to too. So caring can actually be a good thing in that regard. That's why I like to really break down, like, whether or not you care about what other people think, it's not necessarily good or bad. It's how you use it and how it affects you. And that's where the art comes in, because there's no one way to do this, just like there's no one way to paint a painting. So
that's a real good point, Stu. Let me jump in because I was just thinking this as you were talking, like, and some of the points that could be you were making. Does this all flip if someone speaks well of us? Right? If somebody gives you positive reinforcement or encouragement, does it matter where it comes from? Does it matter who they are or how much they know about you? Does it matter? Would it have a different impact at all?
Yes. I'll say yes. If you are a baseball player and Alex Rodriguez tells you have a good swing, you might tell him, hey, should I double up on those doses or not? No, I'm just playing.
Is that all I'm missing?
Oh man. But no, I all joking aside, I said it does. Obviously, it matters, right? So
to a degree.
Because I was
gonna say, keep that same analogy. If you're a baseball player and A-Rod comes up to you and says you have a great swing, cool. But if a young fan or if a high school coach, someone less prominent, tells you the same exact thing, does it hits differently because it's A-Rod, but do your actions change differently? Like, because A-Rod told you versus your coach?
I think you go through the trustee checklist. All right. You go through the trustee checklist. Okay. Do I care? Yes, for both of them. Right. Is it going to impact my behavior? Maybe. Right. It might maybe I put in more time. Now I know I'm moving in the right direction. Okay. Maybe I know that the coach I'm working with is doing something right. I'm doing something right. Okay. And maybe does it change my actions, like I just said, or impact on my actions? Yeah, maybe I put in a little bit more, or It might impact your action another way too. Maybe you get a low. Depends. It depends. So I guess we got a little body chemistry and mind chemistry coming into play here, don't we?
Yeah. And that's why I believe it's Gary Vee that harps super hard on this point. He's a little bit more direct and opinionated on this stance. He is a kind of the stance that you can't really care what people think when you're trying to start your own thing. And I like how he says when you're trying to start your own business, et cetera, because that's only one area of life of not caring what other people think. And here's the thing. If you care, this is a good thing to like keep an eye on. Like a lot of people think, okay, if I don't want to care about what people think because haters or negative people may have an impact on me, a negative impact on me. That's true. Something that often gets overlooked. You can't care so much about positive affirmation to where you go seeking that thing and it distracts you from your root. Or in this example that you were getting at, A-Rod's comment to you blows your ego up so much, maybe you don't hit the batting cage as much as you used to. Because, A-Rod said I'm good. I don't need to do that. I can focus on something else. Bam, maybe the swing doesn't stay the way it was. So you have to really, like this can go positive or negative, like remaining grounded and allowing yourself to bend a little bit with constructive criticism can be very useful. But allowing yourself to totally get derailed by it is just as unfortunate as getting derailed by negative attitude. So that's specifically to the people pleasers why I bring that up. And I want to kind of go into some details of how this can show up in your life and jack what you have going on up, just mess it up. I think the first one, fear of failure. Most of the time, you're okay making a mistake on your own in a vacuum where nobody's going to see it. You know, some of us have a lot of perfectionism about us and never want to make a mistake ever. But I think general population, I'd rather make a mistake talking to somebody one-on-one than, let's say, talking on a live, because everybody gets to see it. It's out there for the world to judge. So one thing that he goes into in this book and that I'm a huge fan of is he says failure is the way forward. I say there's no shame in trial and error. There's absolutely none. You have to be okay with making a mistake. And oftentimes fear of failure gets separated from fear of judgment from others. But in most cases, when it comes to failure, especially if you're trying to do things differently, where you're automatically going to get noticed and observed for doing things differently, you got to be okay with messing up. And you got to be okay with people knowing that you messed up because there's no shame in it. One of the Michael Jordan stats that I can't recite it word for word right now, but paraphrasing, he counted and knows the number of times he like missed a shot in a particular interview. He like somehow knew these stats, or at least he rattled off some numbers. He never would have gotten good at basketball if he didn't take the shot and miss some and accept the fact that he was going to miss some. So you really have to be okay with failing forward. Anything around failure and caring what people think from you guys?
It's a huge point. You talked about this earlier, Stu. You could talk about this for hours. I could talk about this one because I see this all the time. And it impacts so many people. That fear of and that kind of paraphrasing similar quote to Jordan one is that the master has failed more times than the amateur has tried, right? And that's how you get to that success, is
Love
because
that.
you're just doing it so much. The master's failed so many times, but the people that are fear of failure, perfectionism. By the way, I read something that said perfectionism is birthed out of insecurity, right? Perfectionism is birthed out of insecurities, but
bars today, Chris.
I know, right? Look at that, man. We got to put these on t-shirts. We got to get some merch going, by the way. Anyway.
Yes.
But this is such a huge part of what holds people back. It's their fear of, and you said something, Stu, about like separating the fear of judgment and the fear of failure, but those are, I think they're all combined. Like, it's like, well, not, I'm sure you could separate them, but the fear is not actually failing. It's who you're failing in front of and what they may say because you didn't do well or didn't go through or didn't work out the way you thought it was. So normally a lot of times when I'm asking people, because I help people start their businesses and go down this path, and I normally ask if they say, I'm scared of failing. I normally take that one question deeper and say, who are you scared of failing in front of? Right? Like who is it? Because basic examples. You're just trying to make a fire. You'll fail a bunch of times if you've never tried to make a fire from sticks before. Like you're out in the forest or you're out in the woods or
you definitely fail a lot. I can attest.
You fail a lot, right? You fail a lot. But if you're by yourself, you will try as long as you need to start that fire, and you don't have a fear of not getting that fire start. Like it's not the reason you just sit back and you're like, I'm scared that I won't get this fire going, so I'm not even going to rub these logs together. Like, I'm not going to do it. It's because it's just you, and you're just figuring that out. But people get into this place where they say, well, I'm scared of failing. Yeah, it's more like you're scared of the people that are around you that might say something about the fact that it didn't work out the way you said it was. Being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you have to step out and speak out your vision. And not everyone's going to see it, nor will it actually come in that manner. Like normally people's vision, it's way far down the line. And there's so many other steps before then that you have to deal with people's, conversation and their opinions of you, even though you've talked about your vision. And that's what people get fearful of. It's like, God, what is my mom going to say? What's my spouse going to say? I'm going to have to deal with the fact that like she knows I just bankrupted us. If I go out on this ledge and I don't do well, like I did that to my family, what's she going to think? What's my child going to think? What are my friends going to say when they're like, you a millionaire yet? You a millionaire yet? Huh? You said you're going to be a millionaire. How's that thing coming? You know what I mean? Like when people like that is what gets into people's ear and in their mind, and it stops them from even starting. So yeah, it's a big one.
Do y'all have any experiences with that kind of friend?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wanted to jump in off of what Chris was saying here a bit. Chris, I think you are absolutely correct 95% of the time.
Give me the five. I'm ready.
I think at 5%, we've got this voice in our head that does a damn good job of impersonating a whole bunch of people we don't even know. And that person is just different versions of ourselves, right? And I'll say that we do a very good job. I do a very good job. I know I could create 1,000 Smiths in my head, right? Where it's just fear failing yourself, feeling like, damn, I thought I could do that. I guess I'm not capable. I guess I'm not able. I guess I wasn't sure, right? So I think that is a huge part. And I'll say it actually originates from there. Right. It might be that a word somebody said somewhere, a phrase, a sentence, and we take that and we morph that into a whole individual who is waiting for us to fail. A whole individual who's waiting for this, that, and the third. Some of them play out in real life, like, all right. Cousin Tito. All right. Can't stand that dude. All right. Comes in, drinks all the liquor, does everything, but then he still calls you out. Oh, I thought you was going to have $1 million company by the time you was 30. Ain't you 30? Right? But 5% of the time, it really is the voice in our head because that thing is constant. At least I can turn Cousin Tito off and tell him go home. Stop drinking my liquor. All right? Okay? But that voice never goes anywhere. It's right here all the time. And that balls out. So I wanted to add that too, in case somebody's sitting back like, oh, it's like, well, that's not my case, but maybe or whatever it is. Listen, that applies too, in my opinion. But I wanted to give you guys two things first, real quick, before that kind of relates to Stu, what you've been putting out. Gold so far, by the way, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Two things. First and foremost, that I'll always appreciate the athlete mentality. Right? The not too high, not too low. Okay. All right. When we get praises, all right. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. We go back to the drawing board. We get better. Okay. I appreciate it. We celebrate now. We go back to practice tomorrow. That type of mentality. Or you know what? Hey, listen. Yes, we went out there and we got our butts whooped. We got beat. We weren't prepared. We weren't ready. That's not who we are. That's not who we are. All right. Yes, I'm channeling my inner Mike Tomlin. Okay. All right. That's not who we are. All right. A record is our record. We're men. We play this sport, and women and others. Let me stop right there before I get us all canceled. Right. But I always appreciate that. And sometimes, we're all athletes in life in that sense. And I think it's helpful for me at least, and maybe for you at times, to be like, let's listen. People are saying a whole lot of stuff. And you know what? When I went through my checklist, it is in fact impacting me. So I need to just shift my paradigm and say, hey, listen, not too high, not too low, not too high, not too low. And then I also like the Eminem method, right? Make all the mistakes, or the Picasso method, whichever one you like, right? Picasso or Eminem method. Make all the mistakes right in the front. Just put it all out there. Yep. You know what? My left ear is bigger than my right ear. You didn't catch it yet, but I knew you would, so I wanted to get in front of it. Okay. I wanted to get in front of it. I knew you would. I knew you would notice. I knew you would notice. Yeah. Right? Okay. Yep. There's something wrong with my feet also. And sometimes I have lips when I say yips. All right, cool. All right. Is there anything else? Anything else? Okay, great. Now let's move on. Okay. I think that's healthy as well, because what does it do? It takes the power. You get to take the power back. And shoot, I might need to listen to the episode back, because sometimes I need that. Remember to take the power back. Just put it all out there. Now, what else? What other bullets can be used against you? What other bullets can be used against you? There's nothing to care about at this point. Now it's just all jokes. Now maybe you can even laugh at your own jokes.
The thing that came to my mind when you talked about the too high, too low is that classic Greek mythology story of Icarus when they're escaping prison and they fly too high to the sun, or they fly too low to the water, and you either get burnt up or you get your wings wet. I know a lot of people from construction that would fly so high that in a moment of lowness, they react completely out of character, desperate, throwing people under the bus, whatever, because they cannot handle the idea of being low when they are used to being that high. Regulate yourself, be in touch, have balance with your ego, etc. Because this is not necessarily related to the topic of caring what other people think, but if you think that you have to potentially go out there and be a leader that's always going to be at the top energy, the top performance, etc., you're ignoring the fact that you are in fact human. And what happens in a low moment? How will you react if you've set the bar that high? So I love how you're saying it, man. Put it out there. Own it. Ownership. Once again, here it comes as another good life thing, which is a great segue. So thank you, Kabi, because two other areas that I want to get into with the time we have remaining tonight is, and where this shows up, like the things that you are ashamed of about who you are. We had a very great talk on shame about a month ago, and what you are actually courageous enough to be vulnerable with on. If you care so much about what other people think that you are not willing to take a chance and open up on something that is heavily weighing you down, you are allowing the fear of judgment to inhibit your growth and your peace and your happiness. Please take note of that, because I feel like everyone in this room, everybody on this planet has done that at some point in their life. But it is important to go ahead and open up on that topic. Do not let the fear of judgment stop you from confiding in somebody that you really, really trust. Or if you don't feel like you have that person, seek out a professional. But understand that shame grows in the darkness, and you give power to the shame and the weight and the negative emotions that you are going through if you are too afraid of people's judgment. And that's where this art thing comes into play again. You can't just go throwing all your skeletons in the closet around the street and expect like a total stranger to respect you and support you and nourish you. You have to have an art about it. You have to gauge which of these people that I'm familiar with do I trust to support me in this thing that I'm hoping to process and vocalize. The other, before I even go there, anything on that topic from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it hits home with what I do on the financial side of things. I've been trying to get rid of the shame and guilt, specifically the shame of people talking about their financial life and money in general, because it's prevalent, right? A lot of people don't feel we've never really felt comfortable as a society talking about money. And so a lot of times people coming to me or sitting down with someone, it's a little nerve-wracking. Like, I know the approach that I've always taken is just to make people comfortable first, and then we can start having those conversations. Like, it's really tough to start having financial conversations with people you don't know because of that fear of judgment, because we don't talk about money with anybody really outside of our close inner circle, and a lot of times not even them. So then when it's time, like, hey, I'm struggling a bit, or I need some guidance on this, or I'm not really, too sure about what I'm doing in this area, sometimes there's that fear of judgment rises up. It rises up a bit. I know I've had it. I don't want to just put that out there, right? Like, I've had it some in the very beginning around money, but now around a few other topics like my marriage. It's really hard to talk to like a lot of people, or people about, like, the little things that happen in marriage, right? Like, it's just because we kind of keep it internal to like the family stuff. Seek a professional, we talk to therapists about it, but like the judgment of like walking away from that conversation and people being like, oh, that's what's happening over there, or oh, that's, you know what I mean, like that, automatically it's like, because we've all seen it happen, right? Where our words or something gets misused or turned against us, and it causes us to kind of slowly put up that wall over time. And now we're in the process of unlearning and relearning things. So we're breaking down those walls. But shame has a lot to do with this. And like you said, right, because we had this conversation, right? There's a lot wrapped up in that shame and guilt side that we have to be able to just rid ourselves of to get the help that we need.
Honestly, you could probably copy and paste the same thing on the health side. And the impact of that is we end up having surface level conversations about things that don't truly benefit us, but they make it seem as if we know what we're talking about, or make it seem as if we're having the right conversations when we're really not. And when you start to have the real conversations, sometimes, people just they have never been there, don't want to go there, makes them uncomfortable. Something as simple as like, who do we talk to about our poop? Like,
Yeah.
right? Who are you honest with? Are you really? I've never talked to my doctor about my poop. Have you? Right? That's extremely important. How do you know you're doing it right?
Until
All
it
the
becomes
things
a
we
problem.
do.
Until it becomes like a real problem. And then you're like,
Yeah.
hey, doc, I haven't pooped in 2 weeks. Like, what?
Whoa, 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Just like that, actually.
Yeah.
Just like that. But there's people walking around consistently where that is the case. And they've never found, talk about it with anybody, or they just kind of keep on marching. It's extremely, oh man. So stuff like that, you can just copy and paste it. You can just copy and paste it. It's not helping us. It's not helping us as a society. It's not helping us as individuals. It's not helping us as a community. And it makes it further isolates us, I believe, in a lot of ways. Just like this entire season has further isolating us. Yeah.
Amen. And to the men out there that have fallen into the trap of thinking that it is my duty to not show my emotion, to be strong at all times, I'd like you to consider the idea that you actually may be weakening those around you by leading perhaps a wrong example. You'll have to decide that for yourself. That's not my place. But when you do not show your emotions and do not process yourself and do not take care of yourself mentally, you actually set an example for those that look up to you. Do you want your son to be going through the same thing you're going through internally? Or do you want him to be able to seek out and find resources? Something to think about. So the other place that this whole art of caring what people think shows up is comparison, social media, and this idea of happiness. A lot of misconceptions about happiness. And I would go ahead and agree with Mark from this book that happiness is actually a pretty big problem in our society these days. We have an idea that we are always supposed to be happy. Where did that even come from? We just talked about managing.
We're not.
Give me a second.
Okay. All right.
I understand, because this is the way he phrases this is very important. So let's go with this. How would you define happy? How would you define happiness?
I don't know. That's why I was more of a joke. I'm like,
Oh, really?
yeah, oh yeah, that was a joke. No, we're not. We're not always
Okay,
supposed to be.
okay,
I
okay,
don't even
okay,
know what that
okay.
is.
I was ready. Yeah.
No, no,
So,
I'm not even sure what that is or where that comes from or what that even looks like. Like
dude,
who? I've never seen anybody model that. So yeah, I
apparently
know.
it looks like a margarita on the beach of Costa Rica with a bunch of likes on the photo. That's what
Mm.
apparent happiness can sneak into our head. That's why when it comes to social media, this is talked about quite a bit. When social media first came out, this was not talked about. Now you've got a lot of people coming out here sharing more vulnerable moments, sharing the darker elements of their life, showing themselves without makeup, showing themselves when they're not sucking it in for the great booty pic, whatever the case may be. But what I want to highlight here is happiness as you know it, or as you think you know it, if you haven't spent a lot of time reflecting on it, it's not this period in your life where all of a sudden you have no bad days or you have no negative emotions or you have a period of time where literally nothing goes wrong, because everything that you're describing with that type of mentality is perfectionism. Life is always going to be that synoidal curve that could be, as mentioned in the past. There will always be ups and downs. The same thing goes for investments in the stock market. You can't always be growing money, or that would be amazing if you had one stock that was always going up like that. Chris, feel free to jump in. Like, I'm sure
No,
there's
I'm
wavering, right?
yeah. I mean, your financial life in general, like nobody's financial life is just like it's gonna be like this, and then you just get a little bit higher, so like the dips aren't as low. But that's everything. It's just up and down. You hit some wins, you take some losses. You just, you taking $1,000 loss right now is the equivalent of you taking $1 million loss when you have more of it. That's all. But you're still going to take a loss. It's just that should be expected. That should be
Mm-hmm.
expected. And sidebar, let you get right back to this, but something had popped in my mind. I didn't get to say it. Could be when you had said that we're not having the real conversations. We get caught up in that. My LinkedIn quote, like little handle thing, probably 2 years ago was,
Real conversations about money.
that's right, looking to have real conversations about money, real capitalized, because that is the issue. Just like you said, with like people not having the right conversations around health or the real conversations, people aren't having the real conversations around their financial life and money. It's all the same. And so that was actually my hand when we met, Stu. That was my
It
handle when we
was.
met, right?
It was.
Because it's so important. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's huge. That's huge. Run with that real conversations piece, but also coming back to, I think it's you highlighted something that I want to double highlight here is the modeling. The modeling and social media often is providing the only model that we see of like what is happiness supposed to look like, right? What am I supposed to look like on vacation? What am I supposed to look like when I'm having fun? What is a good relationship supposed to look like? What is a rich person supposed to look like? What is a healthy person supposed to look like? I think it's a huge part of the issue here that we're seeing these models, and the only way we're getting this information is through the screens, right? By the stuff around us, one doesn't match, and two, we don't even understand that it's not supposed to necessarily match, or one is fake and one is real. Because a lot of people will tell you social media is fake, but they're still receiving models. I know this because I'm one of them, right? I'm like, man, he looks like he's having fun. Got two females on his arms, nice car at the beach. That man looks like he's having fun, right? That's what having fun is supposed to look like. And do you guys see what I'm saying though? Like, it's a huge thing. We see these models and it doesn't match up. So like you get to that point in your life and you're like, wait, but mine's not quite like that though. My car don't look like that. I got one, not two or three. Wait, I'm doing it wrong, right? It's like it doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't match up. And I think it's a huge sense because it's like, even though you may be, if back in the day when you didn't have that TV, you may have been happy, but now you're looking at it, and you're like, wait, How can I be happy when it doesn't match up?
I 1000%. This has been my thesis for a very long time. One of the first pieces of content that I actually that I wind up actually producing was a show on YouTube called "So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur," and the reason why, and this was 2016ish, maybe 2016, produced this. And what I did was I went around and I interviewed local small business owners about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, specifically because what I was seeing on social was not matching up to my life as an entrepreneur. I was like, what is this that people are showing with cars and boats and money? I'm struggling and depressed and right fighting every day and like all these types of things. And I was like, why are we not showing this side? So that was my first foray into like real content. I was like, let me just go interview some people and like see what their thoughts are on it, and let's give the good and the bad. And by the way, for everyone that's listening, this is actually the secret to, if you want it to be very successful on social media. I know we're talking about it, using it as a model and things. If you want to be very successful on it because you have a business or whatever the case is, be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. Show really what's happening. Like really, not the PR'd version of what's happening, what you think will get likes or what people will respect, but show exactly what's happening. This is the hardest thing to do. I'm speaking from experience because I've tried it and I'm not consistent with it. I had a four episode vlog where I had a cameraman follow me around and like show like the real work, and I'm talking about it in my 2012 Camry, just what I mean, like just
Is this righteous?
Yeah. Right. So just he would follow me around and that would be it. And it's a matter of like, I wanted people to see like, this is the work. I'm not riding around in Bentleys and right. Like I got a 8-year-old car type of thing. You know what I mean? Like this is the work. And if people actually focused on being vulnerable and being authentic, they'll win on social. They'll win because that's what cuts through the noise. Right. It's
Chris, you're dropping bars tonight, dude.
Get this on some merch, man. I want to roll tonight. It's the red. No, I'm joking. but for real, guys, that is a big one. And Rob just said the same thing, right? In the world of appearance, people are drawn to authenticity. It's so true. Authenticity is what's going to cut through.
Amen. And I think, while we are talking about authenticity, and thank you, Rob, for dropping that bar in the chat there. While we're talking about authenticity, it has a lot to do with the art of caring what people think. Like there are so many people out there that are afraid to be authentic because they don't want to face judgment for who they really are. It is way easier to face judgment for this character you create, for this person that you show up on social media, or this person that you show up at work or whatever. But when you actually show your true self to the world, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable spot because now actually people get to judge you, not this character that you create. So I definitely encourage anyone dealing with a lack of self-esteem or, struggling with confidence, struggling to actually go after what you want. Why don't you just start with the simple fundamental of trying to be yourself more often to get used to people seeing you for who you are? So that way you don't have to overthink how you're going to show up in different rooms and what you're going to go after. So really, like, part of the subtle art of caring what people think about you is prioritizing. And this is my opinion. There's many different ways to live your life, but this is my opinion. If you prioritize you being your true self at every moment of every single day, you are going to get extremely powerful. He's saying it right here, Chris, on social media. It's a great point. You want to blow up on social, you start being yourself. You want to become, if you're so worried and curious as to why you're the one playing small in the corner and nobody wants to hang out with you at the party, maybe it's because you're not showing up as who you are. You're thinking you should be somebody else. You're stuck in this comparison state. The core fundamental of so many things that have started to shake out in my life, dating, creating finances, creating my own economy, like all different types of stuff, being healthy, being happy, being mentally fit, all the above. is, just focus on authenticity at all times. And you cannot go wrong. You cannot regret moving with your gut and doing your best to be you. But what you can regret is trying to be somebody else. And I think that really throws a lot of people off.
That shit's exhausting too.
It's exhausting, bro.
It's exhausting not being you. It's exhausting not showing up authentically in like every situation. Like if you don't have like at least like the majority of the places you go, you should be able to show up authentically. You know what I mean? Like if you can't, you got to really evaluate kind of your circle and where you are and where you're choosing to spend time, because you can't get away from you. You can't. It's exhausting to wear these masks and have to show up differently. So authenticity, guys. Authenticity.
So the next thing that I have on the agenda for tonight is, it kind of goes hand in hand with how this happiness model is the problem. Like how you have to go and love that quote, Rob. So Rob on Instagram is talking about the Japanese saying of that we wear three faces, one for the public, one for the close friends and family, and one for yourself. If the more that one for yourself shows up, in my opinion, the vastly more successful and in integrity and happy and healthy and everything in life will fall much more into place. And for those that are very in tune with conversations about the universe providing for you, if you show up in more circles and more situations as yourself, you're going to confuse a hell of a lot less people as to who you are. You're going to be a lot more consistent. Trying to keep up a lie or an act is very difficult to maintain consistency and have that come through. But in tying to the happiness piece, the value of suffering, he goes into a lot on this, and I find this to be incredibly helpful. I believe David Goggins also leans into this. The end destination of whatever goal you have set is so powerful and rewarding because of the suffering that you had to do to get there. Therefore, this model of always being happy cannot exist because there has to be periods of times to grow into the next level. You're on mute. Yeah.
Pain and suffering is required, is what I said. Pain and suffering is required to get to that next place. But yeah, I agree with everything you said too.
And a lot of people have problems showing that they're going through that pain and suffering, which goes back to that pain, like that shame statement. Like pain is a part of life.
Right.
You go to the gym, you're doing something highly productive. You might be gaining muscle. There's a certain type of pain that tells you, I got gains today. That's not a bad pain. You're happy you had that. The pain is not bad. You actually brag to your bros about that. So how come you can't talk about and address the mental pain or anything else you have going on? Because you go through that. Like you said, man, Rob, okay, what's up? Pain is weakness leaving the body. Pain is fourth growth and adjustment. Like
pain is necessary. Suffering isn't.
I like that.
I just came to the bar.
We've all got the one-liners there.
We got to go back through. This is the merch. This is the merch episode. We just go back through this episode and put the one-liners. We'll have a whole merch line right there. We're good.
Yeah,
finished.
Yeah,
finished.
Ashland, when you check this out, like,
that's right.
We got to have a meeting on this with Ash.
That's right.
The final thing here, and this one, I'm going to end on a bit of a controversial one.
Bring it.
You are not special. Could be exits the chat.
What did you say?
You are not special. You know, we have a
my mother lied to me.
But my mama, everybody goes there. That's what I was about to go.
But my mama.
Special. And look, to your mama, you are absolutely special, no doubt about it. To the 8 billion people on this planet that have not heard of you, you have to be willing to step away from this idea that you are a special snowflake. And you gotta be willing to step away from that. And Rob
dropping gems also. Rob dropping gems on the merch episode too. Like,
yep.
But I'm a special snowflake. That is going on a t-shirt or a hoodie for sure.
With the same snowflakes.
I like that. There's no different snowflakes. It's all the exact same one coming down. But yeah, the reason why this is so important to those out there listening is like you can very easily convince yourself that you are the bee's knees, best thing to ever happen to this planet. But guess what? You have to actually do something. You got to back that up. You want to go out there and make an impact because you care about people so much, or because apparently you care about their opinion so much and where you stand in comparison to them. You got to back that up. You got to take some action. It is so easy to get caught up in this thought process that we are special, when in reality, it is your actions, not your personality, that have the greatest impact on people. So what do you guys think? Rob's feeling it. I love
it. It's true, and people may take offense to it because everyone wants to feel special. And again, our parents have told us, and we need that reinforcement that we are. But without using the word like special, like we're all created in the image of God, right? Like we're all created equally. We're all human beings as a human race. We're formed the same way. That is what I take and I interpret when it's like you're not special, right? Like we're not special in that way. Like we're all human beings with the same needs, with the same things. We just grow up in different environments, taking different information, and then that changes us, right? But we are the same. It's funny. I had somebody I coach asked me this question. She actually said, she was like, "Chris, do you ever put yourself in my shoes? I'm a single mom. Like, do you ever put yourself in my shoes? Like before we like talk?" And I'm like, I don't necessarily have to. I have empathy for where you are, but no, I could have never. I'm not a woman. I can't be in your shoes. I don't deal with the same things. But from a human perspective, I can still have empathy and understand the things you're going through and how to potentially navigate these things as a human, because we all have certain things that are similar. So I get people to understand that, because people often think just their situation is special. Oh, you don't know, like the way I grew up. Really? Really? Because we all kind of grew up, right? We all had some traumas. We all had some things, right? So I might not know how you did, but like, let's try to pull this in and see how we can all learn from this.
Yeah. I can not only come from the perspective of someone who's felt that way in certain situations, but also someone who's heard that and been like, so what? Right? Because yeah, there are situations we come into where we feel that way. I haven't found a single person that hasn't felt like, gosh, this is especially hard, right? Or this is different, right? But there's nothing new under the sun, and we keep coming back to the same thing. We see the similar. What is not different, what is not special, is the patterns, right? We have human patterns, human emotions, and we kind of fall into these things. And you may have not felt my exact situation, but you probably have felt something that's gotten you there, right? It kind of comes back to a little bit, I think, of the experiment where they put the fake hand there and they hit it with a hammer and you feel it in your real hand type of situation. Our brains make those connections very easily, very, very easily. You are special. You're a good individual, but the patterns that we go through, maybe this might help a couple people who think like me, be like, oh, okay, got it. Understood. We fall into similar patterns, right? And we're here to help offer some things that may interrupt those patterns so that you can create your best life and not get stuck in patterns.
Well put. So I think on this note, you made a good point. Like, the idea of you are not special is not to attack the fact that you are not unique. Everyone's unique. No one's had the same life as you. No one's had the same parents as you. No one's the same exact, age and combination of all the things that make up you. But you have to be able to distinguish the fact that you are unique from some type of source of excuses. Now, the trauma piece is huge. I got a lot of people that come to me and they justify how, like, why they are the way they are and why certain possibilities are not possible to them because of certain things about their demographic, because of certain traumas they went through. And they literally allow these parts of their personality, and they have the fact of what happened or who they are or what their skin color is or how much money they have. That's the fact. And they've created a very separate story of what has happened because of that fact and how that comes into play. Well, I'm here to tell you that with this whole idea of you being unique, and whether it's trauma or whatever your background is, you write your own story and you literally limit your beliefs. I used to think it was the cheesiest expression, limiting beliefs, but it is absolutely true. You write your own story and your own narratives as to what you can and cannot accomplish. Will you be able to jump out the window and fly in 5 minutes? Probably not. But Elon's trying to fly to outer space, and no one said he could do that. So there's a Dr. Evil. There's a lot of there's just a whole lot to go into when it comes to the art of caring. People think I could go into this. I told these guys before, I could go into this for another like 4 hours tonight. There's a lot of content here. People are a very, very important asset. Both Kabi and Chris have pointed this out in previous episodes, that they may be the most important asset to any institution and organization. You cannot live your life not caring what people think, and you cannot live your life only caring what people think. You fall somewhere on that spectrum, and it's up to you to play with that, depending on the source, depending on the situation, depending on whether they have a similar lifestyle to you, what their credentials are, what their knowledge of you is. So that's all I got for tonight. Fellas, I'd love to hear some closing comments.
Listen, I really think we could talk about this again. We could talk about it for a long period of time because, again, a lot of people are dealing with this and potentially struggling with it. And I think it's an area that we do need to continue to talk about, is the impact. I love that word, could be the impact of people's words or opinions on our life and on what we're out there doing. So I enjoy the conversation. I want to continue to have it with people because this can really shape your destiny. If you take in the wrong information or the wrong thoughts, or you the other way, take in the good things and use them to discern how to make those chess moves in life, you can that is your way to get to the good life. So unmute.
You Bader. All right. Not too high, not too low, guys. That's what I am muted to tell you. Not too high, not too low. And I'm looking forward to diving into this in more detail in the future, but not too high, not too low. And gosh darn it, work for Marshawn Lynch or work for you.
That's right, guys. That's right.
So quick plug at the end. Chris just beat me to it. We're synced up. We have the growth event for 2022 from The Good Life. For those that do not know, this is going to be like a compilation of all the highlights of finance, health, mental, happiness, just everything that we go over. You just picking and grabbing them, whatever you guys want, you know? I try and keep up. But long story short, like, this is going to be a great event. It's going to be January 9th, 1 p.m. Eastern. You're going to get like a free event between the three of us. And then for those that are interested, if perhaps you've never been coached before and one-on-one seems a little bit intimidating, you'd rather go into it with a cohort, a group, then you're going to have that opportunity. It's like a VIP package that we're having to make sure that, you know, whoever shows up, you're going to have a plan to kick your 2022 off in style, in success. And for those that want to do the next level, there's the VIP event where you can actually have us support you through the first quarter. So we're very excited about this. This is the first time we're doing it. Thank you to everybody that supported us throughout the year thus far. More great stuff is coming to you guys on the 9th. Leave anything out, fellas?
No, I think that's it. Instagram, those of you watching us, the links are in our bios. Click any of our bios. For those of you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can see it down there at the bottom. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/TGL 2022. All right, bit.ly/TGL 2022. That'll sign you up for the event, and you can pick the free ticket, or you can invest in your coaching for the first quarter of the year and go into that VIP side where we're going to give you access to us. But either way, we're doing this for you. We're doing this for all of you that have been listening, that have been watching. Man, this is episode 46. So that's 46 weeks that we've been dishing out health, wealth, mindset, relationships, all types of things. And we just want to be able to get it to you in a container that you can use it and make it practical. So sign up, register today. Tell your friends.
Do it.
Do it. That's
Do
all.
it. Just do it.
That's it.
Take care, guys.
That's it. Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.